All right, my project is about sleep disorder, the best ways for you to sleep better specifically. 35% of adolescents suffer from symptoms of insomnia. Most of these are likely to get worse, and additionally, a good portion of you all are probably to develop these symptoms later on. It kind of develops as you age, so it's important that you understand how to solve these symptoms if they occur. The best way, in my opinion, is to change your behavior instead of just relying on medication. Since medication can have a lot of downsides, as I'll explain later, and there's a lot of good ways to avoid the symptoms by just avoiding the causes. First, what is sleep disorder? Sleep disorder is a really kind of broad category that includes stuff even like sleep paralysis and like snoring and sleepwalking. But what we're talking about right now is insomnia, which is just having trouble falling asleep or waking up in the middle of the night, or just having low quality of sleep in general. Now, what are the symptoms? It can exhaust your brain, make you worse at thinking, think slower. It can worsen your emotional state, which can lead to even worse symptoms later on, like entirely different illnesses. It can cause involuntary sleep throughout the day. I'm very familiar with this. And it limits your body's recovery. You're gonna stay sore for longer. If your body's hurting, you're gonna accumulate pain. Now, one of the best ways to avoid sleep disorder is to exercise. Now, I'm sure most of you, or a good portion of us, do exercise pretty regularly. But if you're suffering from these symptoms and you're not, there's a pretty relatively easy way to avoid it. It doesn't even have to be that much. You can do whatever you want, really. Jogging, you can do some lifting, walk your dog really fast. I don't know, swimming. But really anything helps. And there's a really big boost in how quickly you fall asleep in participants in a study. I know you've all heard this one before, but putting the phone down really can help a lot. I know it can get like ubiquitous using your phone all the time, and it just becomes habit, but it really can help, and it's easy to ignore how big of a problem this can be. Emotional state also plays a role. This is kind of too big of a category to acknowledge in a single slide, but even if you're doing everything right in this presentation, if you're going through something, that's gonna affect your sleep, and good short-term solution can be the medication that I'm going to talk about pretty soon, but this is only for the short term. If you're going through a period of huge stress, it's important not to like completely disregard these sleeping pills, but what I'm talking about is that you can't use them like too frequently. And there's probably another presentation pretty soon that's going to be acknowledging your specific issue if you're having trouble with something. So what kinds of sleeping pills are there? There's BZDs, I'm not going to pronounce that, like Xanax, and sedatives such as Ambien, and these are like prescription and they have really like strong effects. And then there's supplements like melatonin, which is over the counter, and it has similar symptoms, but is gonna be more tame, relatively. There's a bunch of side effects to these. There's drowsiness the day after. There's developed dependencies. This is a big one. If you use it daily, your body's gonna get just used to having them every single day, and you're gonna need to use them more and more, and this can exacerbate the other side effects if you're using way too much of them. So it's really important not to use them daily. There's a bunch of nasty side effects like diarrhea, constipation, muscle soreness, sleep apnea, and a big one, there's a risk of death from overdose. And this can happen a lot if you're combining it with different substances like alcohol or opioids. And this was a huge cause of death back during the opioid epidemic. When you combine them, it does bad stuff to your body. So it's important to acknowledge this issue, and that's especially why it's important to not develop a dependency. So if you want to drink or something, you can do it without having risk not being able to sleep later. And you probably can't tough it out. It's really impossible to adapt how your sleep behavior, even just by like weaning yourself off. You really can't do that. It's not like an allergy. You can't do it through exposure. Most people, around 80%, need from 6 to 9, and then the rest need either more or less than that. But this is entirely genetic. Obviously, there might be some freaks in this room who only need 4 or 5 hours of sleep, but that's not your fault. It's important to just feel it out, to how it feels with your body. If you feel sleepy, if you feel drowsy, even past just waking up in the morning, then you should probably adapt your amount of sleep. It's just important to understand your own body. And life's not fair. Some people just need to sleep more than others. And interestingly, managed to genetically engineer mice to actually need less sleep with really no side effects. I just thought that was kind of neat. Cute mouse. So to finish it off, the key to energy and focus during the day is good rest during the night. But the inverse is also true. By adapting your behavior during the day, you can get better sleep during the night, which is just going to lead to a healthier life overall. And here are my sources. All right, thank you.
Give my hand. Question. What time of day is best for people to exercise? Did you see that in it? You might not have even seen that someplace.
I don't think it even matters. It doesn't even have to be any specific time in the week, as long as you're doing it relatively consistent, like even every other day.
Right. Well, because I exercise like 5 in the morning. And I just wondered if that helped
I don't need
my sleep. Okay, anybody else have a question? How many of you deal with sleep issues? Anybody else in here besides me? Yeah, and it can really, like, I can tell how my body hurts the next day when I don't get at least 6 hours.